Okay, good evening everyone and welcome to our regular meeting. I will now call the meeting to order. The agenda is there before you. Could I have a motion to approve, please? Moved by Councillor Crawley, seconded by Councillor King. All those in favour? Those against? Motion is carried. All right, minutes of the meeting from July 25th. Are there any errors or omissions? No, we're all good. Okay, the table will adopt them as presented. Any business arising? All good. Okay, now we'll move on to the Mayor's update. Just a couple of items here for the benefit of Council and certainly, of course, for the public. As we committed a few meetings ago, I'm pleased to report that on July 31st, Council and Acting CAO Marjorie Gibbons had a very productive and informative meeting here in the Council chamber with Transportation and Infrastructure Minister John Abbott and Harbour Main MHA Helen Conway-Ottenheimer. For the public's knowledge, I will provide an overview on the issues and concerns that we discussed. The first one is with roads on Route 60, drainage and ditching issues also on Route 60. I'm pleased to say that over the past few days, the Department of Transportation have been making many improvements with the ditching concerns in the town. We discussed the multi-year capital works known as MYCW project, specifically the water line extension and Salmonier line that will eventually lead to Island Pond, where a new water treatment plant will be constructed. This approved $3.3 million cost-shared project, 90% from government, is well in the planning stages. So when completed, it will greatly enhance and improve ample water supply for the town. So this funding is certainly great news for Holyrood. We also discussed the need for the province to identify a corridor of backland for the eventual extension of the CBS bypass road, known as Peacekeepers Way, to Holyrood. This extension won't happen for many more years, but it will happen at some point in time in the future. This is forward thinking, and planning from an improved road network is extremely important, given that Conception Bay South and Conception Bay Centre are quickly growing regions on the Avalon. By securing this corridor, it will avoid tracts of land from being choked off, contingent on government approval, and when logistics are worked out, we can then incorporate this into our town plan. Public input and consultation would certainly be encouraged as part of this major project. The Minister was also made aware of some issues with the overpass at the top of Liam Hickey Drive, specifically crumbling pieces of rock that have been noticed by the motoring public. The Minister assured us that his department will be conducting an assessment and inspection to ensure it does not pose a safety risk. And that was the basically an overview from the meeting we had with the Minister of Transportation and our MHA. So on another note, and on your behalf, we also want to extend a big thank you to the Newfoundland Trailway Council and Newfoundland Structures Incorporated for the fantastic job they have been doing with the trailway upgrades and improvements. They are leveling the trail and have widened it out several feet on both sides. The project started at the marina and will continue on to Duff's. I spoke with many pedestrians, as I'm sure you also have as well, who walk the trailway and others who use quads and side-by-sides, and they are super excited to see such a wonderful job being done. Our town also secured a $5,000 grant to help support this project. The Trailway Council reminds the public that they accept private donations to support ongoing improvements. So the more money they receive from the public, the more work can be done, not only in Holyrood, but on the trailway itself. So that is the mayor's update for this meeting. Madam CAO, is there any correspondence? Nothing? Thank you. Now we'll move on to planning and development. So we have Deputy Mayor and Councillor Windsor.
Good evening, everybody. The Planning and Development Committee met on August the 16th via Zoom with myself and Marjorie Gibbons and Steve Windsor in attendance. The business arising from the previous meeting was discussed first, and we're still in discussions with the site prep permitting process. Our acting CAO and the Director of Public Works are working together, reaching out to municipalities to see, what their process is like, and we've received some positive feedback already, and we're hoping to have, or they're hoping to have a document, a report planned for our next committee meeting so we can get that process completed. We reviewed 6 applications. We have 3 for motion tonight. We did have a couple that needed to go back. We had to refer back to our town planner, Rich Garland, on those. And with the town plan, we're still, waiting for the draft document. The written component is almost 100% complete. We're just waiting for the mapping piece to be presented to us. Other than that, I don't think there's anything else. Do you have anything else to add, Steve, before I do the motions?
No, just a comment, I guess, to back you up a little bit on the first part of your update around the permitting system, right? And
Yes.
just so everyone at the table and listening understands what we're trying to do there is an improvement towards consistency and standardization so that we can reduce the inconsistent answers that might be given to residents and or churn that can happen and span multiple committee meetings, because the deputy mayor and I and staff discuss a particular application and something is missing or there's a clarification required, then it's another 3 weeks until we meet again. Meanwhile, the person is waiting and trying to make decisions and plans, right? So it's an important thing for us to work on and improve. And we're working with staff on that. Yeah. That's it.
Good.
Okay.
Other than that, all good, Deputy Mayor.
Okay. So as I said, we have some motions. So the first is our permit listing. Be it resolved to table and approve the attached permit listing. 8 permits were issued from July 20th to August 17th, 2023, and include permits for water and septic, fence, general repairs, extension, accessory building, and general repairs. That's there twice. So moved.
Okay, moved by Deputy Mayor Woodford, seconded by Councillor Crawley.
No, not seconded. I have to excuse myself. Oh. Okay.
Okay.
So
Table
Councillor
okay with
Crawley,
that?
yeah, is leaving
All
the
good.
room.
And that will be duly noticed.
Okay.
I will second the motion. We're still looking for a second there, right? Yeah.
Okay, seconded by Councillor Windsor. Further discussion?
No, it's just general permits.
Okay,
Nothing out of the ordinary, standard, run-of-the-mill type of permits there. Yes.
Yeah.
and a general update, basically.
Yep.
Okay, for all good, those in favor? Those against? Motion is carried. Councillor Crowley, come back in.
No, that's fine. I'll wait for her to come back in.
Welcome back.
Councillor Crawley is back in the room. The next permit is for 30 Bryans Road. It's a residential application under residential medium density. Be it resolved that the Town of Holyrood approve the above application in principle, subject to the town's municipal plan and development regulations. So moved.
Okay, moved by Deputy Mayor, seconded by Councillor Windsor. Further discussion?
That's just another general residential build.
Fully compliant with regulations, nothing strange or different to discuss.
Okay,
No.
pretty straightforward.
No, and Robert did a site visit as well on that application, so,
Okay,
right? Yeah.
Thanks, Deputy Mayor, that's right.
okay. All right, moved and seconded. All those in favor, please raise your hands. Those against, motion is carried.
The next motion is for 52 Conception Bay Highway. The proposal is an online prepackaged food retail. The zoning is mixed development. Be it resolved that the Town of Holyrood approve the above application in principle, subject to the town's municipal plan and development regulations. This application was advertised in accordance with Regulation 10 and 90, and no comments were received by the deadline date. So moved.
Moved by Deputy Mayor Woodford, seconded by Councillor Crawley. Further discussion?
Maybe just one comment to provide some additional information to council. And that application there, well, first of all, we think it's great that there's opportunities for residents to be able to avail of purchasing food. Given we do not have a supermarket, and that's something else that we'll talk about in the future. But so we support that concept. But one item that came up in the discussions around the committee was parking. And Director Stacey had visited. We looked at the site survey and the map, and we were thinking about traffic concerns, and they were alleviated. And the number of spaces is very small. I think maybe 3 or 4, including the resident.
Yeah, I think
Place.
it's I think up to 5.
Yeah.
But I think the proposal is just for you order online
And
and
pick
you
up.
set a pickup time and you
Yeah,
drive and you pick
it's-
up, so there
that's
won't be
right.
that many there.
Yeah, it's you make your order, you pick it up. It's not a shop as such, right?
Yeah.
So just want to let council know that detail was investigated and vetted, and we felt it was okay to proceed.
Okay, thank you very much, sir. So that has been moved and seconded. Any further discussion? Questions? If not, all those in favor, please raise your hands. Those against, motion is carried.
The next is for 103 Conception Bay Highway. The proposal is for seniors rental units. The zoning is RMD. Be it resolved that the Town of Holyrood approve the above application, in principle, subject to the town's municipal plan and development regulations. So moved.
Okay, moved by Deputy Mayor Woodford, seconded by Councillor Windsor. Further discussion?
So it's a word of support for the motion. I think that, you just turn on the news and the big discussions across the entire country is housing, right? And so for us locally to be promoting higher density homes, especially for seniors that are in our demographic and affordable housing, I think it's really important that we move that forward. And we've got a nice diverse town with different types of development, and I think this is a target area for us as council to focus on. So we fully support that.
Okay. Good point, and I'm sure we all agree. And what I understand, actually, I'm supposed to, when I speak on the motion as chair, pass the gavel over to our deputy mayor.
That's good enough.
So I've done it. Yeah, we have many of those units in our community right now, and the residents are coming from everywhere, from, down to CBS, and they're coming from the other way, and from what I understand, they're all full. There's a big demand for them. So, of course, this is another addition to that to meet that requirement in the community with the seniors. And not only seniors, but everybody. So, it's a good thing. All right, any other questions or comments? If not, all those in favor? Those against? Motion is carried.
And finally, we have proposed amendments from the town of Portugal Cove, St. Phillips. It's the St. John's Urban Regional Plan Amendment Number 2, 2023. the Municipal Plan Amendments Number 15, 2023, and the Development Regulations Amendment 25, 2023. Be it resolved that the Town of Holyrood has no comment on the proposed amendment from the Town of Portugal Cove St. Phillips. So moved.
Moved by Deputy Mayor Woodford, seconded by Councillor Crowley. Further discussion?
And we've come, we've had these in the past, and it's just the process that that municipalities have to follow. And we look at the amendments, and we don't have any issues with the amendments, so we just agree to bring it to motion.
So I'll speak to the motion again, and you have the gavel, and I will say it over and over and over, which I've been saying for the last several years. I think this is the most nonsensical process that any municipality would have to go through, because I'm sure this council is not going to tell the town of Portugal Cove St. Phillips or any other municipality what they should be doing in their communities in terms of development, and it should be reciprocal as them doing the same for us. So it's the regulations, we have to abide by them, but again, I think it's just a nonsensical process. And I've said it probably 30 times now, and I'm going to keep saying it over and over until this foolishness changes. That's my 2 cents, and I'll put the gavel back.
Duly noted.
Pardon?
Duly noted.
Okay, any other questions or comments on that? No. If not, all those in favour? Those against? Motion is carried.
And that's it from Planning and Development.
Thank you very much, Deputy Mayor and Councillor Windsor. And now we will move on to recreation and community events. Unfortunately, Councillor Buckle was unable to attend this evening. So, Councillor King, you're up.
I am. Well, first of all, we had our meeting on August the 1st, and in attendance were the acting CAO, our recreation director, Councillor Buckle, and yours truly. First of all, we talked a little bit again about how successful our Squid Fest was and all the activities we had. And at this time, the acting CAO and director are working on a detailed plan or a detailed report about the Squid Fest. So that will include like the briefing on it, all the financial report and recommendations for next year. So that will be presented at a later date when it's finished. We talked about how successful our day camp has been. So we had 61 children in day camp this year, full house. Wow. Got great reports about it. And we knew it was a really hot summer. So in order to take care of our children, we purchased 2 portable air conditioners and 8 fans for the school. We talked about Holy Cross Park. They had a fabulous summer up there. For the first time in many years, we didn't have very many issues at all, and lifeguards did a good job this year. We discussed the soccer field and especially the surface because the grass is starting to look worn. So we're going to have to do some work on the surface to keep that in good condition, which will include fertilizer and aeration, things like that. We talked about the Salmonier Recreation Park. One of the things, or 2 of the things that's mainly on our agenda are an outdoor rink and trail development. These are our top priorities, and we currently have $55,000 to spend on trail development. So we will be working with the contractor to see if we can get this trail finished with that amount of money. We're also planning recreation activities for the Fall Festival, and that will take place on October the 11th and will run until the 15th. We discussed our community garden, and so far this year we've been very fortunate. We don't have any 4-legged creatures around yet that I can see. And everything up there is doing really well. And last but not least, I have been asked to thank Steve, our recreation director, for the great trip the seniors had to Fairyland the other day. The seniors were really, really delighted with it, and they couldn't express enough thanks for the trip. And they're looking forward to another one soon. And that's it for today.
Okay, thank you very much, Councillor King. Any questions, comments? All right, if not, we will move on to infrastructure and public works. So we have Councillor Windsor and Councillor King again.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. Back again. Okay. Infrastructure and Public Works Committee, full committee met on August 17th. So in attendance, myself, Councillor King, Acting CAO Gibbons, yourself, Mayor, and Director Stacey. Talked about a number of issues, which I'll try to summarize succinctly. And we have a couple motions, actually 3 motions to deliver tonight, okay? Number 1, I'll, I guess, report to CSA committee. Our budget spend was talked about, or actual spend this year versus budgeted. And as we approach the end of the third quarter, we're on track, okay? I try to delay that delivery just to kind of give you a little bit of suspense, but no, it's just under 70%, 67% actually, right? So end of Q3 should be 75, right? So we're on track, so happy about that. A few other updates to talk about. You might notice driving around the community, the completion of some cross-cut paving on Route 60, intersection of Godson's Road, for example. Good job done of that. Paving is a subject we'll get to in a moment as well, on a very exciting motion which I'll toss to my colleague to deliver. Filter media is something that we talked about, and a little bit of education piece, I think, for all of us in our water treatment plants. So as we all know, we've talked about here, we're all on a well in this town, right? And the water treatment plant has a series of 3 filter canisters that take care of filtering out unwanted minerals, such as manganese, arsenic, other types of minerals that are very common, right, in Newfoundland groundwater. So these canisters are filled with a media. Green sand is a trade name, but it's basically a dioxide, right? And it's a catalyst for precipitating out those minerals, so you don't drink them, right? So there's a preventative maintenance routine whereby, and that's been in place, we know of, since 2019. That goes back to the current director, Stacey, implementation of the role. So we don't know if that was happening before then or not. But they'd be backwashed, right? The minerals precipitate out into the filters, backwashed, and periodically replaced. Like the media's design life 4 to 8 years, right? So we're on schedule to replace that media this year for filter A and filter B and C next year. So we feel really good about what we're doing there. It's being closely monitored, and we're putting making sure that the planned maintenance routines are followed, okay? So it's important everybody understands that. So it's in the budget. It will be some part of our consultation for next year's budget to CSA, just so you're aware of that. So sorry, I probably went on as the engineer in me a little bit, I guess, trying to explain things, and
No,
I think it's important to understand, right? Update: Woodford Station culvert was replaced. Project went very well, very large culvert, and I know that staff was planning to do that at a time when school was out and summer got ahead of us, and so many activities for public works and support and recreation and all the other priorities in the town. But we got to it and did a very good job of it, and the residents in the area expressed their satisfaction with the job complete. So that's great. We're going to allow things to settle a little bit and go back into the shoulder, all right? On the subject of our systems, the wastewater Abydos system on Country Path had pump failures. So we do have a motion here to replace those pumps, and it's something that committee have talked about, we've talked about, myself and Councillor King recommended about positioning ourselves for emergency response and spares. Not just the water pumps in our wells, but also these waste pumps and the sump down at the Station Diner, Godson's Road area. So those pumps are critical infrastructure, and to get out of these responsive emergency situations, we need to spare ourselves up, capital spares. So as a gas tax motion shortly. The last 2 things I'll comment on before we get to the motions. One is we continue to investigate speed bumps. So around the town, we've got a number of these temporary speed bumps, and there are different configurations that I've seen in St. John's. And what's the right one? They do cost money, almost $1,000 each. You take them up, put them down. One thing committee talked about was investigating a permanent speed bump, and I've seen them in CBS. I can't think of anywhere else I've seen them locally. I don't know if it's St. John's or not, but a slow rise pavement, right? So we got to look at that. What do they cost? What's the impact on the plow operators in the winter, being aware of that's not cause any damage? So it is something that the committee will continue to investigate, and maybe we'll come back around on that in future, because speeding is a problem. Right? We can't have speed bumps everywhere, but we do have a few areas of high concern to us from the public safety perspective. I know safety committee will support that initiative. In the bulk garbage collection, that's the last thing I'll update on. The bulk garbage collection is coming up, right? The date is 28th? 30th, thanks, sorry. I failed the test. I've got a pretty good memory, but I fooled that one up. Yeah, so that's coming up, and there will be watch for social media announcements. Check that, all details. Around town, some people are already aware of it, because I've seen stuff starting to pop up now, right? But be aware of it, take advantage of it, right? So before I go to the motions, just want to acknowledge staff for doing a great job in bringing forward funding opportunities, keeping an eye on the gas tax funding that's available to us, because it is a use it or lose it type of program, right? So keeping an eye on that, what we have available to us is really important, and also prioritizing the applicable projects that we could avail of in a sensible manner, so that the most residents get the most benefit from these funds. So the first one will be for paving. And the second one, as mentioned, will be for the purchase of the replacement Abydos pumps. I have the updated agenda here that has that motion. Yeah, so I'll hand that to you, Sadie, so you can see that second one. And then the last motion will be the updated wood cutting policy, which we talked about at the last meeting. And that was the revision we all agreed to focus solely on town property. All right? Okay, that's it for me. Did I miss anything on the general update, Councillor King? Okay, well, I'll hand it to you, so you can have the glory of spending some money and getting some pavement.
Oh, I love to spend money.
All right? Yeah.
Especially when somebody else's.
All good, thank you.
Okay, great report, Councillor Windsor, thank you.
First call she got to do a gas tax? Yes. Oh, I'm not allowed, no. Be it resolved that the Town of Holyrood submit an application to the Gas Tax Authority to complete local road upgrades in the town. The project identified is to complete paving in the areas identified in the attached table at a total cost of $208,004.75, HST included, to be paid to English Paving. A request for quotes for this work was issued by the Town of Holyrood, and the successful bidder was English Paving at the price provided in the motion. The areas to be paved include sections of Sir Albert Welsh Drive, Bog Lane, the Valley, Timmins Lane, 4 areas in the country path, Burns Road, Route 60 intersection, and the total cost again, $208,004.75. So moved.
All right, moved by Councillor King.
Seconding it.
And I sort of thought that. Seconded by Councillor Windsor. Further discussion.
I guess great.
And I'll pass the gavel back to the Deputy Mayor. No, this is great news for the town. It's great when we have a significant amount of funding, and of course, it's not money that's coming out of our budget, it's gas tax money. And like Councillor Windsor just said, we have a significant amount of funds. It's all based on priorities, and you know, each committee, you prioritize these things, bring them back to the town, and then we recognize and identify how that money should be expended. And in this case, I think all of council unanimously agrees that keeping our roads and our by roads up to a certain standard and try to keep ahead of it is certainly a priority, and we all realize that water is our top priority and our roads and pavement is on top of the list as well. So great that that we can make this announcement tonight to do these roads, and hopefully next year we'll have the ability to continue on and pave more roads that need attention in the town. Okay, any other questions or comments? If not, all those in favor, please raise your hands.
2 hands.
Those against, motion carried unanimous.
The next one again involves gas tax. Be it resolved, the Town of Holyrood submit an application to the Gas Tax Authority to purchase 3 pumps for the Abidas system in Holyrood at a total cost of $10,168, provided by the lowest bidder, Xylem, I think is the name. Each Abidas has 2 pumps to enable it to operate efficiently. Several of the pumps malfunctioned and the system has been compromised. This purchase will enable the town to replace the pumps and ensure all systems have the capacity to properly address waste disposal without disruption. So moved.
Moved by Councillor King, seconded by Councillor Windsor. Further discussion?
Yeah, the only comment I wanted to make is, and I'll probably repeat myself back from the update when I introduced the notion of the motion, is the sparing, right? That's the concerns I have, right? So this is great, we need to get this, but I'm just going to remind council, especially with our budget consultations coming up, that we have to think about sparing, right? If we ever got into a situation whereby you couldn't get that pump and the delivery time on the pump was long, there's none available in St. John's or off island or what have you. I think supply chain is starting to improve now, but still, it's a concern. Now, some people would say, the strategy is sparing. Maybe if you have too many spares, then you got to maintain and preserve the spares. But there's a balance there. We do need to have some. So I don't like the idea of us being in a vulnerable position for water supply or wastewater treatment. So support the motion. Absolutely, emergency purchase, and you're using funds from gas tax, that's even better again. But we need to be self-sufficient and ready to respond ourselves in future. That's my only comment on that, Mayor.
Yeah, when it comes to water and wastewater, it's good to have those very important parts on the shelf ready to go. Yeah. Because you can run into significant delays, and sometimes it could be weeks. And we, by having these parts on hand, and pumps are something that are could be vulnerable for breakdowns. And when you got those parts on the shelf ready to go, you can have these problems fixed in a matter of hours in some cases, or a few days, versus weeks. So I think that's it's a responsible decision.
And if you're left with only 1 pump operating, there's extra strain on that pump that can fire that one out as well.
Exactly. Good point. Yeah. Okay, any other questions or comments? Councillor Bruce King.
Absolutely. I totally agree with Councillor Windsor and the lady over there with the fantastic last name. But I know we talked about it in the past with regards to some type of an emergency infrastructure fund, right? And I think in 2024, I think is the perfect time for us to put that in motion, whether it be for pumps or for, and I mean, I'll get into it later on in the public safety, but we all know that the climate is changing. All you have to do is turn on the radio or turn on the TV, and you look at places like Nova Scotia, you look at places like Port-au-Basque, you look at places like the Northwest Territories, Hawaii.
Scary. We
need to be prepared, right? Because and it's great to be able to rely on the gas tax and these things, but there may come a time when we may have to rely on our own funding. So, and I think in 2024, we should start this process of putting so much money away each budget, and it may not be used in 2024, it may not be used while we're still around, But, you know, in 5 or 10 years down the road, when something catastrophic, heaven forbid it ever happens, people can look back and say, you know, the people that were in council in 2023 and 2024 made a very wise decision to do something in that, because the money could be there, and it could be, you know, used a lot faster. Things could be repaired a lot faster. Pumps could be ordered a lot faster. We could even go to the point where we have something spare, where it's no different when you get a flat, you go and take your spare tire and you put it on your vehicle. And that's the way I think we should look at it as well. Thank you.
Fully agree. Good point. All right, any other questions or comments on that motion? If not, all those in favor, please raise your hands. Those against, motion is carried.
And the other one we have is the wood cutting policy, and we've amended that, so we've taken private land out of it. So now it'll only apply to town land. So it reads, be it resolved that the Town of Holyrood approve the amended wood cutting policy, HP 008R1. This policy will ensure wood cutting on town-owned property governance and regulations are followed in the long-term planning for the Town of Holyrood. So moved.
Moved by Councillor King, seconded by Councillor Bruce King. Further discussion?
Well, I'd like to say at this time, we've already put out a piece of land, town land, to be cut off.
Under a lottery, yeah.
Applications have been invited, people have been invited to put their names in, and then there will be a random draw on the computer.
And that is the fairest way of doing it for everybody.
That's all I have.
And as Councillor Windsor alluded to at the last meeting, we removed, because it was a little bit confusing there at first, and we removed the private property, private land from that, and that will fall under planning and development regulations. Correct, Councillor Windsor?
Yes, that is correct.
Okay. All right, if there's no further discussion, all those in favor of the motion, please raise your hands. Those against, motion is carried. Okay, before we move on, I apologize. I was remiss under the mayor's update when I gave an update regarding the meeting with the minister and our MHA, and of course a lot of that information was relative or specific to Public Works. Would Councillor Windsor or Councillor King, do you have anything else to add subsequent to that meeting, or have I covered it off?
Put me on the spot there, but no, I think, Mayor, you eloquently captured the thrust of the meeting, the purpose of the meeting, and the main focus areas. I think it was really good discussion, and we were grateful for the minister and our member to make time in their busy schedules to attend and hear us out from an Infrastructure Public Works Committee perspective and a whole council and staff committee. So that level of engagement, I think, is so important, and it was really good to see. You know, what they can actually deliver and promise, that's another matter, and it wouldn't be appropriate for us to get into that here, you know, but I think that, you know, for the residents, you know, to be assured that council is speaking on your behalf and escalating the right things at the right time to the right people, and I think it was a really good meeting, and they heard us. In fact, we went over time. We were concerned that we had to be so succinct to get our points across and allow them to meet their schedule and go on to their next meetings and things. But, you know, it was a good discussion. They were interested in hearing us, and it went beyond the budgeted time frame, which I took as a really positive sign in that relationship with them. So even across the parties, like our member and the minister, good collaboration, good communication, and that's the only thing I'd add, Mayor. Your update was on point with the subjects that we touched on, and we were heard. And that's all I can ask for.
Okay, thank you very much. All right, with that said, and thank you for that report, folks. So now we will move on to business development and marketing, and I will turn it over to Deputy Mayor Woodford.
So our committee met on August the 15th with the mayor, our acting CAO, and myself in attendance. We did discuss our meeting with MI, which was very positive, that we had here on August the 8th. Thanked everyone for coming out who were able to come to that meeting. You know, we want to be able to continue building that partnership with Marine Institute, and you know, they are, I guess, willing to come to the table and discuss what's going on there and how we can partner with them in order to make sure that everything that they're doing is in line with what we need to do in order to facilitate what they're doing. So we are looking forward to further collaborating with them, with their plans that they have for the launch for the next year for sure, and well beyond that. The MOU that we have is currently being developed with them, and we're hoping to have that completed sometime the fall. And spinning off from that, we talked about this at our last public meeting with EcoNext, with Ogaga Johnson, wanting to come in and do a presentation to council, because that organization has funding that will identify gaps in skilled trades here that we need for that ocean sector, and for the Marine Institute to launch what their plans are for the future. So we're looking at, I think, sometime in early October, for her to come in to be able to give a presentation to us on that, because they're doing some work, some sessions the fall, so we want to be able to capitalize on when all of those individuals come in. So it would be good for her to get in early and to present to us on that. Our other sponsorship, and this is with OHI, is the Chamber of Commerce Golf Tournament, which is taking place on September 14th this year, and OHI sponsors the luncheon for the for this golf tournament, and the town can submit a team. And I think prior to the meeting, we've decided that there is a team that will be going out from the town. Don't want to give out the names yet, because one person hasn't been contacted. They've been automatically assigned, so I'm not going to do that. Yeah, but so it'll be nice to see that we do have a team in, and that we are able to sponsor that collaboration with the Chamber of Commerce. The other information that I wanted to bring out would be the gas tax, and we've just heard enough about gas tax, but God love us that we do have that gas tax, because we just spent most of what we have. We had $408,004.75 available for projects, and we spent most of that in the motions tonight. So it's excellent that we do have that gas tax to fall back on for these emergency situations, because if not, we would be going into our budget or other means to try to find, you know, those pumps that we desperately need, right? Yeah. And the other is we also received $55,000 from the province to complete the operational plan for the rural transit project. So that money will enable us to hire a consultant to come up with an operational plan for that project. So we're looking forward to doing that sometime, hopefully the fall. Okay. Other than that, I think that's it for planning and development. We do have other files, you know, that we've reviewed, but we're kind of in the mid stages. And as I always say, when we have things finalized, we'll bring them to the committee and to council for, and to the public for, with all of our information. And that's it.
So basically, this rural transportation, I mean, we secured the funding through the federal government.
Yeah.
First of its kind in the province. And that's one of the components that I'm sure will be incorporated into the Memorandum of Understanding with Marine Institute, because we want, as you indicated earlier, we want to recognize their needs as people from abroad comes in, whether it's for a week or a month or whatever. So we want to try to fill those gaps, and we recognize that transportation would be one of them. And thankfully, we're able to do this, and it's not costing the town. There's nothing out of our operating budget. We were basically offered the funding through the federal government, and now to $55,000.
Yeah, well, the money for the rural transit project was for specific items, the actual items that we would need to run the program. It was not for an operational plan,
No.
right?
That's
So our acting CAO went out and found the funding for that consultant to do
And
the
basically,
operational
is
plan.
to set it up for success, not for failure.
Right, absolutely.
Okay.
That's
Any
it.
other questions or comments on business development and marketing? Okay, thank you very much for that update, Deputy Mayor. So now we'll move on to public safety. Councillor King, you're up.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, fellow councillors, staff, and of course, all the people watching at home. Before I start with regards to the golf team, I was not aware up until tonight that Tiger Woods worked for the Town of Holyrood. It's good, you guys guaranteed to win. Public safety, with regards to public safety, we had our meeting on the 8th of August. Those people in attendance was the mayor, our acting CAO, Marjorie Gibbons, our fire chief, Evan Woodford, Councillor Buckle, and myself. We talked about a few topics. The first one on the agenda, we are looking at putting in an application for a collaboration or a community collaboration grant. And one of the stipulations with regards to this grant is you have to have 3 communities, so Holyrood plus 2 others. So what we've done, we have sent out letters to the mayors of Avondale, Conception Harbour, Harbour Main, and Colliers, and our fire chief, Evan Woodford, has sent out a very similar letter to the fire chiefs of all 4 of those communities as well, asking for their support. We made it clear we don't want any financial support. We need a letter of support in order to be able to qualify for this funding. If we are successful in getting the funding and getting the letters of support, it is our intent to use that money to upgrade the fire training facility we have up on Liam Hickey Drive. So we're looking at, if the grant is successful, we're looking at about $100,000, us put with 90-10 between the government and us. So you're looking at approximately, if everything falls into place, of about $112,000, which could turn that into a absolutely fantastic site and also the condition was that all those communities that come in on side with this project, their fire departments can go up there and use that site at absolutely no cost to them, and in collaboration, and our fire chief is also will ask for their input as well. This is not going to be a one-way street. The input, if somebody, for example, if the fire chief of Avondale has a suggestion on what should go in there, then that suggestion will be taken into consideration. The deadline for the application, or submitting the application, is the 31st of September. So we're hoping to hear back from other communities well before that. I know our acting CAO is already ready to go, pen in hand, and I know that the fire chief is also, he is putting together a plan of what he would like to see there in collaboration with the other fire chiefs, and a breakdown of exactly how much that's going to cost. Okay, so, and hopefully by the time the 31st of September rolls around, that application will be in, and hopefully everything will work out, and then we can see how successful we are. We talked about the fire commissioners meeting, and we all agreed that we would send a follow-up letter to the fire commissioner and also CC the minister as well, just to keep that request of a rescue vehicle on the front burner. So we'll let people know what happened. The roundabout. I know before people were complaining that the bridge was rough and they couldn't get over the bridge. Now we have people complaining that the bridge is fixed and people are speeding through and going through the intersection. And a Route 60 sign that's on a 45-degree angle is a test to that now. Every time somebody goes by, you can see the Route 60 sign start to shiver because he figures he's next again. So People need to slow down. People need to follow the rules of the road, yield where you're supposed to yield, and just take your time, right? And hopefully it'll prevent any future accidents. The fire ban is lifted. I mean, we've had enough rain now to keep everything, but it only takes 3 or 4 days of really hot weather, and we could be back into a fire. So people need to be careful. I mean, like we were saying before, all you do is turn on the news. You know, half the Northwest Territories is burnt. You know, Nova Scotia, all these places. There, I think, as of yesterday, there was about almost 34 million acres of land destroyed by fire in this country alone. Okay, we've had more destruction in this year than any time in recorded history. Okay, I just want to also what the mayor said, the shoulders of the road, especially down here by O'Rourke's Road heading towards CBS, all that shoulder on that left-hand side going out has been completely all done, and they've done a fantastic job. So kudos to infrastructure or transportation and works for the job. There was a thing on the news there a couple of days ago. It's the start now of hurricane season, and we already got one on its way heading in this direction, I think Franklin. So people need to be prepared, right? The weather is getting worse. The storms are getting more intense, and I mean we're between September, October, November, we're into the storm season. People need to be prepared. Have an emergency preparedness kit on hand. Be prepared to be able to survive on your own without any help from the municipality, from the provincial government, first responders for at least 72 hours, whether it be water, batteries, food, medication, all these different things. One of the things that they talked about was a generator. If you can afford to buy a generator now, or if you haven't already got one, you should go out and probably purchase a generator. Because if you get a flood and you have a sump pump and the power is gone, it's just as well to have a sieve, right? So people need, because we all know in the wintertime what happens. As soon as there's a big snowstorm, everybody is off to, you know, Canadian Tire and those places looking for a snowblower and a shovel, and the shelves are empty. So get it before something happens. And I think that's all I have, Mr. Mayor. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you very much, sir. Some very good points you raised. Any other questions or comments relative to public safety? Councillor Crowley.
Just to comment on what you said, it's something that I tell the kids in my class all the time when they're worried when storms are coming. So I always say, well, you don't think about the things you can't control. You can't control storm, but you can be prepared. And, you know, to bring it down to kid level, I talk about their trampolines and making sure that they're tied down or taken down and things like that. So you're right. Being prepared is the absolute key. And you talked about it before. It's probably a good time again to look at insurance. What does your insurance cover?
Good point.
And take a note of the types of coverage you have. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Okay, thank you for that update. Now we'll move on to communications. So we have Councillor Crowley.
I didn't need to turn mine off at all. Good evening, everyone. Communications, we met Deputy Mayor Woodford, myself, Marjorie Gibbons, Acting CAO, Steve Martin, Director of Recreation, were in attendance. Mayor Gooby and Councillor Sadie King gave their regrets. So one of the things we talked about is the implementation of our internal communications policy and to keep ensuring that we're following the policy for staff and council and making sure that our CAO, acting CAO, is CC'd on all our internal communication to make sure that we're all, and it kind of goes back to something that Councillor Windsor was talking about, making sure we're all on the same page and that different messages aren't going different directions, and that way we can maintain the order of information coming in. That will lead right into our external communication policy that we've begun our work on. We want to make sure that that process is streamlined for external communications. And one of the things that we did comment a lot was the permit process. So we're going to look at getting a draft of a form available where it will collect all the information in, whoever's intaking, and it will direct you to the department that it fits under, the timestamp it when it came in, what's required of that permit or of that information, what whatever someone's looking for, that request. And that way, all the directors and staff would have access to that information. So it would be held in a combined spreadsheet, and you can check off who has seen it, who's acting on it, what's been done on it, and if it has got back to the resident. So that's something that we're in the process of working on. We also have reaching out to other communities to see how they have implemented their external communication and ensure that we are getting out and reaching as many residents as possible. We also look at some professional development as well around collaborative environments that council and staff could be using. So whether it's Teams or Google or whatever we're going to decide to use internally, to make sure that professional development is attended to and is something that we can put into our budget, and make sure that everyone knows how to use the software, and that will go a long way to helping communication. Communication with the ESRB, the Eastern Service Regional Board, and we've had some complaints come in about garbage pickup and or lack thereof of some places. We've had issues with recycling pickup, people documenting information and sending it in. Again, very important that you do follow the proper protocols for that kind of information. So putting it out on Facebook social media doesn't help town staff or council understand the direct problem, and we can't go through the proper means if it's being thrown out on social media. So if we contacted staff at the town, info@holyrood.ca, or give a call, we will do our best to follow up. And in certain cases, we have followed up through with Eastern Regional Service Board, and they have been in contact with our contractor. So there has been discussion taking place with the contractor as well in regards to those complaints. So again, it's, know better, do better. The only thing we can do is get the proper channels in place to take care of that, because town does not pick up garbage. We contract it out. And in order to make sure that it's being properly done, we need to know what's happening. So as much information possible documented. Cell phone coverage, we're still working on it. We have a meeting coming up with Bell key partners as well very soon. So hopefully we'll have a better update on cell phone coverage. Anything else, Deputy Mayor, Councillor King? You want to add in? Oh, I think that's about all that. We're going to meet a little later in the month for the next one, and we'll be ready with our feet on the ground.
Okay, thank you very much, Councillor Crowley. Clearly, Communications Committee is quite busy and a lot of things in the hopper right now, but making great progress. Okay, now we will move on to the operational review. Councillor Windsor, did you want to take the lead on that?
It's a quick update before I do. Compliments to the Communication Committee. A tremendous amount of work being done, and I think it's critical work. It's so important for all of us to stay on the same page, and I can't say enough about it, really. Like, we get different, it's coming at us from all angles, different means, and like a recipe for disaster and confusion at times. Like, so what you guys are doing, I just think it's just so powerful and so important. So well done. Operation reviews very quickly, I guess, to update everybody, is council have met with the acting CAO. This was following our last meeting prior to that with the consultant, Mr. Kern. So we're at the stage now where we're really trying to get our heads around and understand the recommendations put before us. It's not appropriate for us to release any of that at this point in time. So as we continue to go through the process of engaging each other and engaging staff, some of the recommendations are there. The next step would be to come together again and formally adopt the recommendations. And we may not elect to accept or adopt all recommendations, perhaps a portion thereof, right? So I think, in summary, the consultant has done what was asked of him, did an excellent job and given us a lot of different things to think about. So that's what we're doing now. We're thinking, discussing, engaging, and next step will be adopting, right? I don't know if you want to add any additional commentary, Mayor, but I think that is a good synopsis of where we are right now.
No, I just want to say that, I know that it's taken a bit of time, but, it is a comprehensive process and a comprehensive document. We've reviewed the first draft, a lot of information there to absorb. Takes a bit of time. As we said from the onset, we want it done right, and we're not going to rush this document just for the sake of saying that we have an operational review and strategic plan completed. So as you mentioned there, Councillor Windsor, I do believe that Mr. Kern was to have met with the staff to give an overview on the operational review. That information will be brought back from our meeting that we did have with Mr. Kern the last time. We put a few things in his ear that we wanted some additional information which he had provided. So, once we wrap our heads around it, and then when he feels ready, that we're ready, the final document will be put before council in the form of a motion and officially adopted. So, just all I can say to the public, because I've heard, many residents have asked me about it, and I said, these things do take time, but the result of this, what's most important is the longevity and the results that it's going to produce. So we're almost over the finish line, but we're getting there. So that's it for me. Councillor King, do you have anything to add? You're good?
No, I'm quite happy with it. I think it's going to be a great roadmap into the future, and it's going to be something that we can look at as a guide to move us forward. And I think at the end of the day, I think we will be successful. That's all. Thank you.
Okay. All right, that's it for operational review update. So now we'll move on to corporate service and administration. Councillor Crowley.
Yeah, and just part into that with the operational review, I'm really more excited about the strategic plan being adopted. So really looking forward to that, the solidifying of that, so we can look at our future and see where the next, at least 3 years is going to take us. Hopefully the next 5 years where it's going to take us. So we met Corporate Services and Administration on August 17th, myself, Councillor King, Marie Searle, Director of Finance, and Marjorie Gibbons, Acting CAO. We had discussed a lot around budget 2024. And one of the things that was discussed was this capital account that Councillor King was talking about, and Councillor Windsor had alluded to as well. So we want to look at some real realities of, what we need versus what we would like to see and what we want. We've talked about it over and over again, especially since we sworn in around the table that we want to get back to basics. We want to make sure our roadways, our sewer, our water, our services are available to our residents, and so that everyone's incorporated. So once we have all our recommendations for our strategic plan and our operational review adopted, this will be able to help us move forward with budget 2024. We want to make sure that all committees are looking into what they're spending as, and thank you, Infrastructure and Public Works. You said you gave us a nice number there, really, really excited about that Q3 number. So we're hoping that everyone else is around the same place or under budget even, but our numbers are looking good, and it's nice that we feel comfortable where we are right now. So the files were reviewed, nothing outstanding. We're going to jump into our management agreement earlier this year than previously looked at. So that's all taken care of. It's not running into our adoption of the budget at the last minute. We're still waiting on our audit, and it has been requested several times, so we're hoping to get that in soon. Municipal affairs, they understand that some towns' audits have not been produced yet, but they are working with us. and said it's actually quite common this year. So they understand and have given us the extension till October, along with many other towns as well. The last thing is that we have a clerk position advertised and gone through. We've had 17 resumes come in, and we'll hold interviews tomorrow. Yeah, so hopefully we'll have the clerk position filled. Stephanie has resigned her position, so we're sad to see her go. She was really fantastic there while she was there, but she has other things that she wants to do with her career. So we posted out, that was a couple of weeks ago. We posted out for the clerk position, and that will be hired very soon. I don't know if, Councillor King, is there anything else you wanted to update? Okay. So we have bills to pay. Accounts, be it resolved that those accounts tabled in the amount of $180,583.92. Those are checks numbered, 44901 to 44967 and D3443 to D3538 be approved for payment from the general account. So moved.
Okay, moved by Councillor Crawley, seconded by Councillor King. Further discussion? If not, all those in favor, please raise your hands. Those against, motion is carried.
General payments. So that was a general account. Now's the really fun one. So this is our Squidfest account. Be it resolved that those accounts tabled in the amount of $136,179.93. Those would be checks number 645 to 728. Be approved from the Squid Festival account. So moved.
Moved by Councillor Crawley, seconded by Councillor King. Councillor Bruce King. Two Kings had their hands up. Further discussion? And I'll
This
just
is general
shift my gavel over to the
Squidfest
Deputy
payments,
Mayor.
Squidfest, all our vendors, all our services, everything that ran throughout. And we will also have income as well.
That was the point I was going to make, that when the official report comes in from Squidfest, it will identify all the revenue that was generated through Squidfest. So
Correct.
what we're looking at here right now is on the expenditure side of it. There's nothing here recognizing the revenue.
Yeah, and there's still more invoices to come in, so it's not.
That's right.
Yeah, it's not infinite here. Great.
Okay, has been moved and seconded. Further discussion? If not, all those in favor, please raise your hands. Those against, motion is carried.
Okay, and right now our bank book balance is at a healthy $34,853.19.
That's good. No. Actually, it's in a good position for this time of the year. Okay, that is the agenda. So now we'll do new business, and I'll do the go-around, starting with our Deputy Mayor.
No, nothing for me this evening.
Okay, Councillor King.
So I just got one point. I just want to throw out a plug there for the Heritage Committee. I was talking to the members there the other day. They've had a fantastic summer. They've had hundreds of people come through the museum, and they were from all over the province, all over the country, and some people outside of the country. I know Thursday past they had 2 busloads of seniors there,
Yeah.
and they had a fantastic time. They were and they're keeping going out and telling other people, and then consequently those people are coming back as well. So the museum is been very well represented. Not only that, but these people, for the most part, not all of them, they do stay here in Holyrood, and they do go to the restaurants, they do go to the takeouts, they go to the coffee shops and whatever. So they do spend money, and we all know seniors love to spend money on that. And the last point is, I also want a bit of a shout out to our MHA. They were looking for some pins, because over the years I've given them pins from the military. Well, all those pins are gone. So I made contact with the MHA's office, and within the space of an hour or so, there was a big bag of pins showed up over at the museum. So awesome. Thank you very much to our MHA as well. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, sir. Councillor Crawley.
Yep, just a couple of things. I want to thank Minister Abbott and MHA member Helen Conway-Ottenheimer for meeting with us and being such a collaborative environment, as mentioned earlier. And just want to put it out there that our hearts are with everyone who's enduring the fires and the floods across the country and beyond. Maui, Northwest Territories, BC, the list goes on and on. So we are thinking of you.
Nice gesture. Thank you very much. Councillor Windsor.
Nothing further, sir.
You're good. Councillor King. And you're good. Okay, that concludes our agenda, and the date of the next meeting is September 19th at 6 p.m. Can I have a motion to adjourn, please? Moved by Deputy Mayor, seconded by Councillor King. All those in favor? Those against? Meeting is adjourned.